A fan told me they recently received a voicemail from their local casino from someone saying they were their new casino host. Only being mildly aware of what a casino host could do for them, I was asked, are there specific things I can request or other things I should know? Stick around and find out what you should and shouldn't do. Most slots enthusiasts interact with much of the casino staff. Slots enthusiasts in the top tier meet all levels of casino staff. I encourage players to treat each of them well. Frankly, it's not long before a casino's crew begins to feel like family. It's a small, tight community. Casinos have a staff of individuals known as hosts, whose job it is to assist gamblers with amenities, issues they might be having, and making promotional event plans. Hosts do everything from designing and budgeting holiday decorations across the casino facility to giving out complimentary meals. But with my own eyes, I've seen casino patrons negotiating with casino hosts for comps, which I found a bit horrifying to observe. Once I saw this behavior in the host office of a casino on the Las Vegas Strip. I was on one of my free trips, patiently waiting for the next host to become available. While standing there, I listened to a patron at a host station complaining about a $200 gambling loss. This patron very much wanted that $200 returned to them. That host responded repeatedly and patiently that while he understood and even appreciated the patron's concern, there was no acceptable justification for doing so. I'm paraphrasing, of course. The host used far more words and certainly far more polite words than I just did. Once it became apparent that the host wasn't going to produce a refund, the argumentative patron switched tactics to requesting a meeting with the senior executive host, perhaps hoping for an appeal or pressuring the host in front of them to make a favorable decision immediately. Again, the host expressed that they understood and appreciated the patron's concern, but that very politely was not going to happen. I mentioned this sad incident later in the day to the senior executive host. They'd called to ask how my trip was proceeding and if there was anything they could do. An antagonistic relationship with a casino host doesn't work well, at least not for me. I don't see how it could work well for most anyone else either. The casino staff live and breathe working with their patrons and are highly skilled at winning any negotiations. They are certainly more experienced than I am at this kind of manipulation. However, it is very, very common for casino hosts to be on the receiving end of this kind of mistreatment. I prefer to understand what it is that the host can provide and then ask them for what I'd like from what is possible. Understand that food is easy to comp, for instance. However, tickets to local sporting events are of a limited quantity. Even with plenty of notice in advance, special events like baseball's opening day are especially problematic. The casino may not have even gotten any tickets in the first place. Maybe. Even so, keep in mind that it is sometimes possible to attend many sporting events due to last-minute cancelizations. I've had some success at getting comps by being ready and flexible. It's essential to have a good relationship with your host if a specific host has been assigned. Some racinos, for instance, make hosts equally available to all their patrons, but when a specific host is assigned for a top-tier player, not only should the host and the player have good chemistry, but the host also needs to understand the interests of the player. Does the player like football and not baseball, vice versa, or both? Do they have a preference of specific cuisines to help the host make dining arrangements with the best local restaurants providing such food? What kind of music does the player like so they can be sure to set aside specific concert tickets? Think of the host as an agent, your personal assistant. Hosts need to know preferences. Why? Because they can aggressively represent your interests. Hosts regularly get together to divvy up any available comps made available by local vendors. You want your host to be ready to serve your wants and needs. If a player doesn't have a good relationship with their host, they can ask for another host. My first senior executive host told me that at any given time, each hosted around 300 customers. Of course, some of these were one-time visitors to the casinos, but other hosted players were regulars. My second senior executive host was responsible for 3 times that, yet we have a great relationship. Why? Because I've taken my own advice and made it clear what I was and was not interested in. Remember, a senior executive host needs to be a match. If a player has a host, it's likely going to be temporary. If for no other reason, attrition happens to casino employees. Over time, casino hosts will leave employment at a casino, be promoted out of the host role, or choose to try a new role. I've had a different host every year, once by deliberate request with agreement from my host, and twice due to the host no longer being available. Change happens. However, the casino is always very careful to provide a high level of continuity when switching hosts. Each time this happens, you're informed of the change, introduced to the new host, and the host-patron relationship begins again. The new host usually has the notes from the prior host regarding each player's areas of interest. This knowledge transfer makes the transition far less of an inconvenience. Advancing in your casino's players club eventually results in automatically being assigned a casino host. Make the most of having one. After all, you've earned it. Now maybe you want to know, what are some good money management tips for slots enthusiasts? In this playlist right here, I explain 11 practical tips. So if it is important to you to protect your gambling bankroll, you can click the playlist you see on your screen right now and get a lot more detail about how to make that happen. So click that playlist and I'll see you in the next one.